Zig coming in on the top. Today on the show, we have Ben Vaughn. Ben Vaughn is a musician, singer-songwriter, composer, producer, and radio host based in L.A. He hosts a weekly syndicated show called The Many Moods of Ben Vaughn. It performs regularly in the U.S. and Europe. Ben is known for producing artists such as Ween, Charlie Feathers, and his collaborations with Alan Vega and Alex Chilton. As the leader of the Ben Vaughn Combo and through his solo albums, including the cult classic Rambler 65, recorded entirely in his car, he's built a devoted following in his native Philadelphia and beyond. Now Ben enters a new creative field with his podcast Straight from the Hat. With years of experience and wisdom and stories on stories, Ben and his co-host Laura Pocatello pull names of people he's worked with out of a hat at random, and Ben just goes for it. He's an excellent storyteller, and he has some crazy tales to tell. I am a fan of the podcast. I listened to the first 3 episodes that are up now. Ben is a fascinating musician and captivating storyteller. And you're going to hear some stories in our podcast here. So this is a podcastception here where we're going to be talking on a podcast about a podcast. I highly recommend you guys go check out Ben's musical career, and also that you check out Straight from the Hat, Ben's new podcast. Lastly, before we get to our conversation, if you hear anything you like, if you can like, rate, review, subscribe to Zig at the Gig, and or Straight from the Hat. It helps me keep talking to cool guests like Ben and sharing their insights with you. So without further ado, this is my conversation with Ben Vaughn. So like we talked a few years ago with your last record, and we went pretty deep into your history.
I remember.
It was a good conversation, man. I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, me too. I was looking forward to doing this again, and here we are.
Likewise. So I thought with this one, maybe we can do it, because I listened to every episode of the podcast that you guys got out, and I love it, dude. It's so good. Like the whole shtick with pulling out, and just you're a really good storyteller. It's really engaging. The production on everything, and the banter between you and your co-host Laura, right?
Yeah, Laura. Yeah.
Laura, okay. The banter between you two is so natural and flows so well. So, like, I thought maybe with this, what we can kind of do is give my listeners an idea of what they would get listening to your podcast without kind of spoiling too many stories. So,
okay.
I wrote down a few things, and if you want to just kind of from the top of the hat.
So I shouldn't get on the phone and tell Laura that she's being replaced? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Laura, guess what?
New co-host. What?
You're out. Zig is in.
No, she's fantastic, man. Yes,
no, she is.
So how?
Yeah, she's amazing. Just briefly, Laura Pocatello is my co-host, and she works at Sun Records in Nashville. She actually runs Sun Records in Nashville.
Wow.
And she's a young person. She's kind of like a musical prodigy or something. Her knowledge of older music and her record collection. She has a radio show in Nashville, and she runs Sun Records, and she's probably in her early 30s, is my guess. You know, I never ask, and I never reveal my age either. You know, so but her feel for older music really intrigued me. We worked on a project together and had a lot of long conversations, and I realized, wow, her understanding of older music is almost identical to mine, except she wasn't there when a lot of it was made, which is fascinating to me, you know?
Yeah.
And so we had many, many conversations, and what actually instigated the podcast is she wanted to hear stories about, stories about the people in her record collection, people I've worked with and met. And so we decided we're going to record for an hour and see if we have anything. And it ended up being like a 3-hour recording session. We pulled 20 names out of the hat, and we were pretty amused by what we came up with. And then we played it for other people, and they liked it too, and convinced us that we should chop it up and make episodes out of it. And that's the origin story.
That's incredible. What was the project you guys were working on when you initially?
It was a reissue project. It was the 70th anniversary of Sun Records. And that would have been, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe at this point. And they brought me in to compile, to curate a collection to release on vinyl. They brought in Chris Isaac and me, and I forget who else, a couple other people, to go through the Sun catalog and pull music out and produce these compilations. And Laura gave me the keys to the Sun vaults, which I listened to everything that was ever recorded for Sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost about 3 months of my life doing that. My friends were starting to worry about me because I wasn't returning calls or texts because I was just in it. I listened to Sun everything that came out on Sun for about a 3-month period, and during that time I got to know Laura, and we had a lot of conversations about music and realized that we were kindred spirits and that we were going to remain in contact and figure out projects we could work on together. We're still getting ready to launch a reissue label at some point. We're both a little too busy for that right now, but there's a lot of obscure music out there that needs to be reissued. And,
yeah, for sure. That's incredible, man. What obscure or rare finds did you find through the Sun vaults, like that maybe didn't see the light of day since you had the all access key?
Oh man, I'm trying to think of what's on my compilation. There was Harmonica Frank.
Harmonica Frank.
Harmonica Frank was this guy right around the same time that Elvis walked through the door and auditioned. Sam Phillips was a very eccentric guy. He really was almost on a spiritual quest when it came to recording people, because what he would say is, when you put a man in front of a microphone and record his vocal, you're recording a man's soul. It's not just a recording session. It's not a performance. You're recording his soul. So he was kind of like a preacher about it,
Yeah.
And he, if you look at the Sun roster, there is Elvis and Carl Perkins and all that kind of stuff, which sold. But boy, he signed a lot of really diverse acts, a lot of blues, and also just a lot of oddities. And Harmonica Frank would be one of them. He was a guy who had a harmonica in his mouth the entire time. He played guitar, and when he would sing, he would push the harmonica over to one side of his mouth and sing. And then it was time for a solo. He would, and this is without using his hands.
Yeah,
he's playing guitar, and the harmonica is moving back and forth. And I found a recording by Harmonica Frank that used the slapback rockabilly echo that Sam Phillips became legendary for, but Harmonica Frank, he was using it on Harmonica Frank before he tried it on Elvis. And that was a big discovery for me, and so that was I believe that's the lead-off track on the compilation I did.
Okay. What was the earliest slapback that you found going through the catalog? Was it Harmonica Frank, or was he experimenting?
I think it was Harmonica Frank. Yeah,
wow.
he was using reverb and stuff with the blues stuff, but I don't think I heard although Mystery Train by Junior Parker sounds like there might be some slapback on that. But the real rockabilly slap, that single repeat, that Sam became famous for. The first example I found of it resembling Elvis was Harmonica Frank. And there's also an obscure Charlie Feathers track. Charlie Feathers, recorded 4 songs for Sun before he moved on. It was a great experience working on that compilation. And Laura was assigned to me to help me promote it when I was done. And she has since moved up, and now she's running the label. And we found out pretty quickly when we were talking that we both had a genuine love for Sonny Bono.
Yeah.
Because he had a legitimate career before Sonny and Cher. He worked with Phil Spector. He produced a lot of great R&B records. He started publishing companies and little record labels. He was in the business for at least a decade before Sonny and Cher. And she is a historian of the early Sonny Bono stuff, as am I. And I think we don't know if we might be the only 2 people in the world as dedicated to the legacy of Sonny Bono. So that was a major bonding
For
moment,
sure. That's it.
as you can guess. And when you meet someone like that, you don't let them get away. Okay, we're going to work on stuff together because there's an understanding
Right.
that is that connection. You know, we were really lucky to find each other as creative partners, and it's really been awesome. It's been great.
There is a thing with music being able to connect you with somebody on such like an immediate level. You know what I mean? Like there is if you hit off, like if you meet someone and you guys like both are into the same record, there's like this connection that you've been through this journey on your own terms, but similar, and like I definitely think that definitely makes for a great partnership in whatever a creative endeavor.
That's true.
And it's kind of going back to like maybe the soul was captured during these recordings that we find ourselves so like attuned to and moved by, that if you meet anyone else who is also attuned and moved by a certain like someone else's soul, there's like this bit of connection there that you and that person have unlike anyone else.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Our souls are, and our souls are listening to the music. So I don't know. There's some things that we will never know. That's the beauty of being a human being. If you can relax about the idea that some things will never be known to you, that's the way to go through life, because not knowing is okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it helps you feel more the less you try to know.
Yeah.
And not to get overly spiritual or anything.
No, let's do it, man. I think like,
and the fact that Sonny Bono is the the catalyst of this spirituality is beautiful.
That's true. But also for you, like, was there a point, because like being in a career within music or the entertainment industry, it's always like you have one thing, then it's gone. You have this gig, it's temporary. At any moment, it can totally stop existing. So in a way, you're kind of always in this state of unknowing what's about to happen. Was there like for you, did you find a way to your own either like thought process or inspirational moment that led you to be okay with the unknown?
Boy, the record business will teach you to do that, because if you don't, yeah, it's like Zen detachment. The record business, it's very strange, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to have commerce and art live in harmony. And it very rarely does. And people who are creative people are sensitive people. Otherwise, this wouldn't be coming out of us, right? And so your sensitivity that is necessary to make great music is a detriment when you get into the music business, because it's a very insensitive business a lot of the time. And trying to feel good about what you do consistently has to come from inside, because the business will tell you, you're hot right now, you're the greatest thing in the world, you're not selling records, you suck. So it's almost like there's a built-in bipolar, like it's begging you to be bipolar. It's like adult onset bipolar. It's like it's begging you to be unstable, because they're giving you mixed signals, or the signals are changing depending on how useful you are to them. And they're trying to make money, so I get it. They'll go out of business if they sign too many acts that don't make money, so they have to think that way. So I sympathize with that. I always have sympathized with the business, even though I've been as almost every artist has been a victim of the blunt cruelty of the business at times. I understand their plight. If they don't make money, they go out of business. And if we don't make music, they don't have product. So it's just a strange combination of things, art and commerce. It's never going to be like, yes, We're moving together. Everything is great. And you have to internally almost have like an EQ where when you go up, like if you're getting a lot of affirmation, certain frequencies are going to go up and be too high and distorting. And you got to like kind of dial them down. And if you're getting a lack of interest in the industry, some things are going to, some other frequencies are going to come up, like emotional stuff. And if you can just kind of internally receive praise and blame with the same reaction, which is a very Zen thing, right? To be able to do that, not go up too high when you're being praised and not go down too low when you're being blamed. And in the record business, a lot of times you feel like you're being blamed, for a lack of success or lack of money for them to make. So you never know where your career is going to go. You could be hot one minute and be cold the next. So you have to love what you do and stay true to yourself. That's the main thing. Stay true to yourself. Believe in yourself. And, it's always like back in the 70s, what would happen when an artist got cold is they would make that disco record. Even Chicago made a disco album.
Yeah.
Hot Streets, it's called. Even Chicago had to make it, and they were Chicago.
Right.
And they were cold enough where, their record label said, disco's the thing that's happening. You guys need to jump on board. It happened to so many people. And, that's hard to deal with when you're an artist, when you're a creative person.
Right. Well, Zen and the art of mixing. It makes sense, just the idea of mixing, you're taking what's coming at you and trying to level it out to an even balance, of what you're hearing. So that, I really like that analogy, and I think those are wise words. And
it's also harmony. You can change a dissonant chord to a nice sounding chord. You can, and you have to really in life, just okay, that note is out. So let me look at that note and find out what's wrong with that note and why it keeps showing up in this chord.
Right. Right. Well, if you take a nine chord, if you play the seconds right next to each other, right, that's real dissonant. That's Jaws,
Yeah.
But if you put it an octave up with a chord in between, it's a beautiful sounding chord.
Right. Exactly. That's that definitely applies, to our reaction to life, and also what we're putting out into the world.
So when a producer says that your guitar doesn't have enough humor, how do you go about it?
Well, mine apparently does.
Which, listening through the podcast,
it was the guitar player that I hired. Who
That's right.
Yeah. I didn't know my guitar playing was funny.
I didn't know guitar playing had humor. I wrote that phrase down. I'm like, that's a story beat right there.
Yeah. People laugh when I play guitar. I don't get it. But it was I was doing music for Third Rock from the Sun. And what happened is I broke my hand right before the recording session for the theme. And so my hand was in a cast, so I hired another guitar player to play what I had written, and they turned it down because they said his guitar playing wasn't as funny as mine. And that's the first time I ever heard that.
That's the craziest note I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Was it that's one thing, I kind of had a minor incident when my hand was hyperextended the other weekend, so I couldn't play for a couple days, and it was just slowly getting better, but it was one of those things that drove me crazy. So I can't imagine with what you were going through at that moment, just hired to write for this show and having to turn stuff in, and the panic of that.
Yeah, it was nuts. And finally I had the cast taken off, and the day after I had the cast, I had atrophy because it was I think it was 5 weeks or 4 weeks where my hand was in this position for that time. And the minute the cast came off, I had like a really limp, everything was atrophied,
Right. Right.
And so when you listen to the Third Rock theme, imagine punching in pretty much every measure, because I would go, okay, I couldn't get through it. There are so many punch-ins on my guitar track on that theme. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because I could not get all the way through it because I didn't have the strength, and it hurt.
Right. Right. Well,
every time I hear that theme, I have phantom pain. Like I have a sense memory.
Yeah.
I love it. It was successful and everything, but ouch when I hear it.
Man, like, well, and like, I guess that's in another way, that's kind of the beauty of like the tech of being able to punch in. I was having a conversation with an artist last weekend, and like, they're a live band, you know what I mean? And I brought up the magic of the studio, and they're like, "What is the magic of the studio?" I think that would be the magic of the studio, being able to get it done despite the odds.
Thank God, yeah. In a different era, they probably would have hired a different composer with a different theme because I was not able to work.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Was it So one listening through your podcast, and like one thing I got to know about, and I know you're going to talk about it later, so I don't want to spoil what you got for your listeners ahead, but to kind of give the listeners here a taste of pulling something straight from the hat. I keep hearing the Stooges. Can you tell me about the Stooges?
I love the Stooges. My relationship with the Stooges, not a personal relationship with the human beings that were the Stooges. I think they were human beings. They might have been animals. I mean, and I mean that, that's the ultimate compliment. Animals are not neurotic like us. So, I'd rather be an animal. But 1969, I heard "I Want to Be Your Dog" on the radio. I was 14 years old, and everything that I was feeling as far as anger and anti-authoritarian energy, my hormones were going crazy. I hated everybody, definitely my parents. I definitely hated my parents. And I heard "I Want to Be Your Dog" by the Stooges, and I'm like, wow, this is like everything that I'm feeling is coming out of the speakers right now. And I went to see the Stooges. They played a gig in Philadelphia, opening for the Buddy Miles Express.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So it was at a place called the Electric Factory, which was a psychedelic, club. Philly had two psychedelic clubs back then, the Electric Factory and a place called the Trauma, which is the best name I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's the best name I've ever heard. I was too young to be part of the hippie thing, but I tried. I tried to hang around on the edges and be part of it. And they would have two shows a night at the Electric Factory, an early show and a late show. And I couldn't go to the early show for some reason. So I got there for the late show, and they wouldn't let me in because I was underage. And the guy at the door was like, "Look, man, I would love to let you in, but the pigs are hassling us, man. They're trying to close us down, and they're looking for any reason, and I don't want you to be the reason why we close, so you're not allowed in." And so I couldn't get in to see the Stooges, and then all of a sudden I heard this rumble coming from the building. And it was obviously the Stooges on stage, but it sounded like I don't know, like a train going over it, like you're under a trestle. So I heard the rumblings of the Stooges, but did not see the show. That was the beginning of my relationship with the Stooges, which is kind of weird. And then in 1970, when Funhouse came out, I bought that record. It might have been the day it came out. I was at a record store, and the guy behind the counter, his name was Mark, I'll never forget him. He was playing this record. It sounded amazing to me. And I asked him what it was, and he said, "It's the new Stooges album." So I bought it immediately. He didn't want to sell it to me because they only had one copy in the store.
Oh, so
I'm going to sell it to you. And I go, "You got to sell it to me. You're a store." And he goes, no, man. It's going to take weeks for this record to get another copy of this in here. And no, it's not for sale. And so I pulled out a $5 bill, and I'm like, "You have to sell it to me. This is capitalism. Come on. So I forced him to. He was very angry. But he sold it to me reluctantly, and I took it home and probably listened to it about 3,000 times in the first week. You know, and it was everything for me. I don't know what it was about the Stooges music, the energy of it, the defiance, and it's also not political. It's kind of stupid lyrically. Like even No Fun by the Stooges, he gets bored and calls his mom on the telephone.
You're right.
You know, and I
Yeah.
thought, wow, that's not what a nice boy. He calls his mom. You know, and this is a guy who crawls over the stage and is cutting himself. You know, but on when he's bored on the weekend, he'll call his mom. You know, so it was just so great. You know, Iggy. And also the confidence he had in himself was inspiring. Like I'm going to be Iggy, and nobody like him existed before, and he just invented this thing, and is still going strong with it. And the funny thing is, probably about 30 years after that incident, when I bought that record, I played a gig in Philly, and at the end of the night, this guy came up and said, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I looked at him, and I didn't remember him. I didn't recognize him. He goes, "I'm Mark. I used to work at Record Museum. I'm the guy who sold you that Stooges record." And I was like, "Wow." And he goes, "Yeah, I'm still pissed off. I'm still pissed off you. It took a month to get another copy of that in."
Yeah.
So he was still angry about it after all those years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did that so around? I guess it would have been later, but like hearing the Stooges, is that kind of what maybe opened you up to Welcome Suicide? The band?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Punk rock. Yeah, well, punk rock, because of the Stooges and the MC5 and bands in the 60s, like I really like the Sonics
Yeah,
and
dude, Sonics are awesome. Yeah.
early Kinks, the Pretty Things. I really liked, really, I don't know what you call it. I guess it's garage rock, but that's that kind of that's not a deep enough term for what that energy does to you when you hear it. It's deeper than that. And yeah, Suicide. When I heard Suicide, that's another thing where 1977. I'm listening to a college radio station in Philadelphia late at night, and Frankie Teardrop comes on from the first Suicide album, which is a frightening piece of music. It's a psychodrama, really. If your listeners, I be careful. I highly recommend it, but be careful.
Yeah. It's
because
intense.
this is like watching Taxi Driver.
Yeah, that's a good.
There is something so intense about it, and it's not even music. It's just like Frankie, and Alan Vega is singing with all this slapback echo, and the story starts to get darker and darker, and it's building to something, right? So I'm hearing this for the first time, and all of a sudden the record stops, and the DJ comes on and said, "We just got a phone call. Somebody begged me to take this off the air, so I'm going to do it out of respect." And then he played another record. So the next day I went straight to the record store. I said, "Do you have a called Suicide?" And they said, "Yeah, it just came in." So I bought it. And that record, it's still ahead of its time, I think.
Yeah. So, can you tell me about working with Alan?
Yeah. Well, that record scared me. And they played in Philadelphia. I think it would have been, a year or two after that. I went to see Suicide, and it was a very confrontational performance. First of all, they were the loudest group I'd ever seen, and they had no drums and no guitars. Martin Rev had all these keyboards. They were kind of duct taped together, it looked like, and it was coming directly out of the PA, and it was so loud, people were leaving and going out into the street to wait for them to finish. And Alan was jumping off the stage and confronting people and grabbing people, and at one point he had the mic stand like this, and he wouldn't let people out the door. He stood in front of the door with the mic stand like this and wouldn't let people leave. He wouldn't be, and he looked like Charles Bronson, in Death Wish, like a combination of like West Side Story, Puerto Rican Gang, and Charles Bronson, and he's standing there, and I'd never seen anything like it. It was insane. And afterwards, the promoter asked me if I wanted to meet him, and I said, "No, I never want to meet him. No." So I ran home. um, and then I guess about maybe 4 years. Well, what happened in between that is he put out a solo album with that was kind of like a minimalistic rockabilly record with a song called Jukebox Babe. And that was everything I was looking for because I love rockabilly and I love suicide and that kind of stuff. And what he did is he created modern rockabilly, art like artistic, minimalistic. It was an expression that was perfect for me. Like everything was one chord, you know. And so you don't have to think. You just feel. You know, when there's only one chord, what are you thinking about at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Tempo and energy,
Right.
and feeling. Um, and I was at a nightclub in New York City. I forget who I was up there to see, and I was my girlfriend at the time. She went to use the ladies' room, and then when she came back, she said, "I just met Alan Vega," and I was like, "Holy shit, really?" And she goes, "Yeah, he wants to meet you. I told him all about you." I go, "Hold it now." Why did you do that? And she brought me over, and he was the nicest guy in the world. And he wrote down his address and said, "I really want to hear your music." So I sent him a cassette of what I was working on at the time, and he called me at home.
Wow. So he
And
followed up.
yeah, and he raved
Yeah.
about it and said, "I'm working with Rick Ocasek right now from the
Cars,
Cars.
right?
I'm going to play his stuff for you because I think Rick ought to produce you." So right away, immediately, not only was Alan a really nice guy, he was generous with his contacts. He immediately wanted to help me, and our friendship began right there. And he was always protective of me, which was really endearing, to have. He was the most artistic person I've ever worked with, and maybe the most artistic person I've ever met. He was dedicated to being in the moment. He didn't want to be thinking about what we're going to do. We recorded the record together with Alex Chilton, and before the sessions, Alan was like, "We're not going to talk about what we're going to record at all. We're going to go in with no songs, and I don't even want to know, like, just tell me what time to show up. That's all I need to know." And that's how we worked. And it was a revelation to me to work with someone who had no expectations about what was about to happen, like zero, like the art of being unprepared, you know. And it taught me a lot because I've incorporated a lot into what I do. Like, well, Straight from the Hat is a great example. No preparation at all when we do the episodes. When she pulls a name out, either I'm going to have something really good to say, or it's like, pass, But I don't do any preparation at all. No notes, no nothing. She doesn't know what name's coming out, and I don't. And that the confidence that I have that's worth the risk is something I learned directly from Alan Vega. It's worth the risk
That's
to
I mean,
to go out on the limb and saw it off behind you. You know.
but there's definitely a thing to that. There's a thing to it being one chord and all you're getting is the emotion and all it is that moment. Like, and
Yeah.
like that, because that takes an absurd amount of confidence to be able to like really just, here it is, especially,
And not just confidence, but an acceptance that it might not work. You already accept that this is a risk. You're accepting it, that it might not turn out great, and to be okay with that because it's worth it. The exploration is worth it.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
That's like kind of going back to the beginning of the kind of Zen thought of being able to handle anything in a creative career or any career of any sort. Because at one point, I feel like you always have to pivot somewhere. Something changes, right? So like being comfortable with the unknown like that, that's a huge impact. Wow, man.
Yeah, not only comfortable with it, but excited about it.
Right.
Because with every failure comes wisdom that you didn't have before. Every mistake you make or every bad thing that happens to you, bad, depending on, the definition of what happened to you, you gain wisdom. So if something is not going right, or if you're going through a rough period, a really good thing to do is ask, where is the wisdom that I'm going to have when this is over? Because that's inspiring. So even if you're going through something really bad, or you're trying to undo a mistake, what am I learning? What wisdom will I have to apply to the future? What am I going to learn from this? And creatively, and also personally, and everything. I think it's always a good question, or not a good question, but actually try to stop and ask, where is the wisdom? Because that informs your future.
Right. And I read through Bruce Lee, ultimately it's all self-knowledge, right? All these mistakes and stuff we learn from attempting things and being in these moments and failing in these moments or succeeding from these moments, these are all moments of self-knowledge. And that's incredible. Ben, thank you so much for your time, man. This has been a pleasant conversation. But very quickly, before we wrap up, can you tell me about working with Deer Tick?
Yeah, I just recorded an album with Deer Tick, and it's coming out in October. And they discovered me in the used record bin somewhere, and sought me out, and they recorded a version of "Too Sensitive for This World," which is a song.
Yeah.
And they perform it every night, not every night, but they perform it, and it's a fan favorite. And sometimes when they come through the West Coast, I get up on stage and I sing "Too Sensitive" with them backing me up. And it led to us going into the studio. I think it was exactly a year ago, actually, in Rhode Island. And we cut this record where I'm just singing. I'm not even playing guitar. So it's not funny because I'm not on guitar. It's less funny.
No humor.
Yeah, exactly. I just sing, and those guys are my backup band on it, and it really came out good. And it's really unusual too, because their approach to my music is completely different than my own approach to my music. So it was a great experience, and the results are great, and it's coming out in October.
Awesome. Well, I hope when it comes out that I get to listen to it and we can schedule another conversation and dive into it, man.
I would love it.
Yo, Spike Spiegel here. You just listened to Zig at the Gig podcast. Keep riding the bebop. See you, Space Cowboy. Bang.